Hey guys, this is Kirob speaking, and today we are starting our play-along for the Tour de France 2018. And we are going to do this as a one-off race with the world database with all the real names and jerseys. So let's get started. Before we are picking a team, I would like to give you an overview of this year's Tour de France, because it is set up slightly differently to a standard tour, so to say. We don't open with a prologue, but with a standard flat stage. Let's have a look. Very, very pancake flat. Second stage is another... this is a pretty short one for a flat stage. And then we are going into a team time trial. Third stage. Pretty long. Although for a team time trial, it's not necessarily that super long. But seeing that it is very early on, that makes sure that, of course, all team members are fresh and so on. You usually don't see team time trials beyond the first week of the tour. Okay, so that will split up the field slightly. And that will potentially give someone else the yellow jersey at that point. Stage number 4, slightly more hilly. Of course, escapees will be trying to get the win every stage, but I don't see it happening in the first week or week and a half. So yeah, this one is just too controllable for the peloton unless the weather sucks ass. Okay. Fifth stage, the first one that is really starting to become interesting. This is a stage for punchers. And with how much inclines we have here, it looks like this will even be won by a puncher. Probably the classic specialists. It's a long stage too, so you would expect someone like Alaphilippe or Kwiatkowski to really strike this one. And of course our favorite world champion. So what is up next? Well, Mur de Bretagne. Yeah, that sounds amazing. I'm so much looking forward to this. Another puncher stage, but more focused on the very end phase with the Mur de Bretagne as a finishing slope. It has some, I think it's like 13% slope in the starting, and then it flattens out towards the finish. But that is just brutal, and they are going. The field will be moving in here as one, and then it will just explode. And then another long flat stage, another flat stage, and then we have something really, really special. It's a mini Paris-Roubaix. Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. There are some really famous cobble sections in here, and that means that if this one is ridden hard, because I think the pros, this one could be so brutal, because the teams know that they need to position their riders up front who want to be considered for a final win, and that before every difficult cobble section. Because if you're messed up and you are entangled in a crash there, you can easily lose contact by like 2 minutes or something. And carrying that into the mountain stages, that is not fun. On the other hand, this one will be amazing because at this point, the differences in the yellow jersey time will be small. And that means that potentially after stage 9 we could see a classics expert wear the yellow jersey. This is a very short stage with only 150 kilometers, but it will be one of the most exciting stages, I think, of this year's Tour de France. And then we are moving into the Alps. Yes, we are. Whoa, okay. That's the first stage. 160 kilometers, brutal stage, but not an uphill finish. Here we might see the likes of Nibali or someone really hammer it downhill. If anyone from who's still with them on the top, there will definitely be tries. I mean, this constellation, the just shorter downhill section here and then up again, that favors some real contenders for the overall standings, obviously. And it's a long downhill with very, very little flat towards the end, so we might see attacks in the downhill. Then we have another brutal stage, just 108 kilometers long. But my god, that's some mountains in there. And you don't really do them much favor by shortening the stage that much, because they are just going to ride it that much harder. It will be the first stage that really determines the yellow jersey favorites. The next stage actually might settle who are the favorites for this year's tour, and definitely determines who is the one to beat in this year's tour. Because not only do we have these brutal HC category lines first up, but we also have an Alpe d'Huez finish. Oh yes! Then we have a pretty flat stage, not too long, and I think this one might be the first one which is won by escapees. The same goes for this one, because it is shortly before the next set of brutal mountain stages. So I think what we are going to see here is a reasonably large group of escapees going away pretty early on, of course, as always. Well, maybe a pack of 15 or something, and the field not really chasing that hard. And then there will be a two-front battle. One in the escape group for the win up this slope. This looks brutal, by the way. It looks super steep. This will be fantastic. But also there will be a fight once they reach the final slope in the field, from the field, with some guys trying to grab a few seconds on the competition before moving into the really hard mountain stages. Then we have a mountain stage that isn't... I would almost say it's not really a mountain stage, because it is... yeah, well, there's a first category climb here, but it's so far away from the finish, and yes, there's a downhill towards the finish, but it is flat for too long towards the end for no one to catch up. So I don't see this one really working. It might be another escapee one stage. Oh yeah, this one is interesting too. Pretty easy until like 2/3. And then there are some really steep climbs and descents. And we have another stage with a strong descent towards the finish. And then a little bit of a novelty. I really like this tour. It's so different. Yeah, this is awesome. Like the cobble stage and now this one. Super short. 65.8 kilometers. But man, it's hard. It will still take like an immense time to finish this one, because it's just uphill or downhill, and the only flat bit is right at the singular intermediate sprint. So looking awesome, like super action packed, and it will definitely hammer home once again who is the favorite in the tour. This could be the point where it swings around too, because this is a very special stage. Usually riders also use the time during a stage to find their rhythm, but this one won't allow them to. This one really won't allow them to, so if someone has a bad day, it will really show on this one. Then we have a flat stage, which, if the green jersey is very contested, we might see the teams trying to fight off the escapees or keep them very close and try to end this one in a mass sprint finish, because the only other flat stage remaining is the final one. And then we have the final mountain stage with a downhill finish. And at this stage in the tour, yeah, you will see some really early escapes, of course, and probably this will be won by an escapee, but I think the main contenders will have a rough time starting from here, and so hard to properly get into a rhythm up these up and downs, up a slope, and then just a brutal descent down to the line. Yeah, again, one stage that could be won by someone who excels in the mountains and downhill. And then we have our time trial. The only proper time trial. There wasn't no prologue. Only a team time trial early on. And then we have the individual time trial coming at stage 20. A little hilly, nothing major, but I think this last hill, I've seen the profile for it, on the official page, and this looks a lot steeper on that official profile than it does here. Maybe that is because this is 30 kilometers and this is really stretched out. So if you viewed it in the actual profile, this is a super steep climb. I think it was something like a 900 meter long slope of 11%, something crazy like this. Don't quote me on that though. I just remember it to be pretty awesome. That means all the other inclines here are also pretty steep, and 30 kilometers is nothing to underestimate. That can give some big time differences. But because it's so hilly, we might see some tilted somewhat more towards the actual tour races versus the time trial specialists. And then we have the classic. Nothing much to say about it. Sprint finish, some chaotic time right before the finish. As always, someone wants to snatch victory, but the train won't be stopped. All right, well, that's the overview of this year's Tour de France and my commentary regarding what I think will happen. And now we need to choose a team for our journey. The first one I want to highlight here is BMC, because this potential lineup is pretty awesome with the setup of the tour. If they take Avamat and get some of the really pro time trialers with them on the tour, then we might see BMC very far up to the front at stage 9. And Avamat could easily be one of, if he feels great this day, then he could smash it and gain like a minute on everyone else in a solo escape victory. That is entirely possible and would be amazing to see. Then we would have him in the yellow jersey. But yeah, that's just dreaming a little. I know. So, what other teams do we have? Mitchelton Scott, yes. Here we have the Yates brothers. Of course, they're always, you can never discount them. They always have a chance. And they do have, yeah, if they are going for it, they have a really strong setup here for climber-wise, but not amazing stats, at least in the game. We shall see how fit they are for the tour. They might stick out. And then the team I played last year, and that might actually be worth another go. Everyone has aged, not necessarily well, although Mikel Landa looks amazing. Well, not the photo, I mean his stats look amazing. And of course with Quintana, there is a lot of potential for teamwork here. Two very strong riders if they feel it. Also, you have to consider that this year's tour is not very time trial focused. Last year's tour wasn't either, but this one is even less so. So maybe a team that is not quite, or riders also, who are not quite as focused on time trial will have a chance here. Yeah, we have another one, Quick Step. Quick Step with Alaphilippe and Terpstra. Yes, another one who potentially could grab yellow after 9th stage. But this team definitely is struggling a little bit with excellent time trialers. They don't seem to have many specialists on their team, and I doubt they will set up their entire team for just that. Tom Dumoulin looking amazing as always. That is some mighty impressive stats. I'm quite keen on playing with him here, but he doesn't seem to have a team that is all too supportive of him. We have another great climber, but the rest, I don't know, looks very sprint heavy. And then of course Team Sky, with Kwiatkowski, with Froome, Chris Runn, and Geraint Thomas of course. Wow, yeah, some real good time trialers in here. And I think for good old times, like last year, we're going to focus on a mountain specialist team with a bit of a punch, and that could be Movistar. Yes, Valverde needs another try as a 38-year-old. But our main guys for the potential win of course, would be Michelanda and now Quintana. So, who's fit today? Oh, Valverde. Oh, very nice. Oh no, Landa isn't fit. Oh shit, he stays home then. Alright, I've put together the team. Valverde is leading it, along with Quintana is trying to win the mountain stages. Although, that will be rough. It will be rough. Well, let's see if we can get a lot of wins with Valverde instead, because his hill rating is phenomenal. And we have a very, very strong helping crew with Marc Soler and a few others whose names I barely can pronounce. Of course, I'm not only taking mountain riders, but also a few flat specialists like this guy here. The only thing that I'm very worried about with this crew is that we don't have time trial specialists. Look at that! Look at that! Well, one, two if you want to count him, and then some mediocre ones, and then some people you best not let to the front. And I think this concludes our setup for this year's tour play along. I hope you enjoyed, and join me in the first episode tomorrow.